You can probably have a bigger impact than you think. It takes a very long time to get monetized. Not that many people will see your first videos. I didn't really assume that I would be creating content long term. There's so much editing involved. What is going on, you nerds? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that I don't think I ever thought I would be talking about, just because about 4 years ago in 2017 I was thinking that I really want to start a YouTube channel. I even have footage of a video that I filmed back then and never uploaded, never started because I was so scared to do it. And now I've been on YouTube for a whole year, and honestly all I can say is I wish I started sooner because I'm having a ton of fun. And even if I'm not always the most consistent YouTuber in the world, this is something that has had such a positive impact on my life. I wanted to talk about what I've learned during this entire year, and at the end of this video I'll talk a little bit about something that you might notice here on this channel right now, which is new, which is that I've rebranded the channel, and I'll talk at the end of the video a little bit about that. So if you want to check that out or hear about it, it's going to be at the end of this video. I'll leave a timestamp if you want to jump in. I hope that this video is going to be interesting nonetheless. I know that there are a couple people in my sort of tech Instagram community that have been talking about starting their own YouTube channels, and I really wanted to just give a perspective of what I've experienced in this year that I've done this in the sort of YouTube tech community. So without further ado, let's get into my learnings. Learning number one absolutely has been that you can have a much bigger impact than you initially think. I cannot, first of all, even believe that I have, like 4,700 subscribers more or less. I mean, of course, when I started my channel, I really wanted to help people. I wanted to help people get started with data analytics, with the tech industry, and really understand what it takes to break into this industry, especially since I don't necessarily have the most traditional background in the industry. I don't have a degree in anything data related, and I don't think I really understood what a demand there is for content like this, or how much it can help people, because just the amount of good feedback and positive comments and just thank yous that I've gotten for explaining certain concepts has been overwhelming and so great and really motivating. And I just never expected that. I was like, okay, if I can help at least like one person to maybe understand a concept better or whatever, like that'd be great. But yeah, you can probably have a bigger impact than you think. I've had even parents email me asking how to introduce their kids to something like data or data analytics. And if someone watches a couple of my videos and thinks that I'm a good influence that they'd like to introduce to their kids or ask me for advice about their children's futures, like that's a huge compliment that I don't know if I can live up to, but I try my best. So that's definitely lesson number one. And lesson number two is that it's not as easy as it looks, probably. Obviously, you mostly see me sitting here and talking to the camera, but consistency, which the algorithm really likes from you, is actually really hard. Especially if you're working something like a full-time job, or I don't know, even doing full-time studies on the side of this, it takes a lot of time to create videos, to research them, to then film them, and especially edit. Editing takes a ton of time, so it's a struggle, as you can tell from my upload frequency sometimes, to actually combine all of this with sort of a more balanced schedule overall. So I do my best, but it's a lot more work than necessarily meets the eye. But as lesson number three, you do learn a ton of new skills, like even ones where you didn't necessarily think that that would be a thing. So yes, of course, filming and being on a camera, but that also includes talking to a camera, trying to be concise and explain things in a way that someone else will understand and relate to. You learn to edit, you learn photo editing. There's like a ton, like YouTube SEO. YouTube is obviously a search engine, so optimizing for that. You learn a ton of new skills and to do things that you didn't necessarily think that you would have to learn. It's cool to learn something that isn't necessarily directly related to your profession, unless you're like a videographer, but then this is kind of your job, I guess. Lesson number four, which is sort of more on the, I guess, negative side or not as uplifting, is that you need to deal with comparing yourself to other people. And I mean, it's hard to avoid it completely, especially if you're like me and you consume a ton of YouTube content all the time. Even people that aren't in your niche, like people that aren't doing tech videos, I look at their filming, I look at their camera presence, their footage, how they talk and how they edit their videos. And a lot of the times there are people that have been doing this for a much longer time, or they upload much more frequently, so eventually the practice that they've had has been for a longer period of time or for more volume of content. And obviously then you shouldn't be comparing yourself to somebody who's got a lot more experience than you, but like it's hard to avoid doing that. In terms of subject matter as well, like there are a lot more data YouTubers now, which is really fun because I like seeing how other people approach things. A lot of people relate to different types of people, and so your voice doesn't resonate with everybody, but at the same time there will be a group of people that you're talking straight to and they understand exactly what you mean and they relate to you and feel that you're their tribe. So it's pointless to compare, but it's really hard to avoid, and you just need to deal with that. The fifth point that I wanted to make, and this is especially for the ones that want to start their own channels, the first video is the scariest one to post, and after that you kind of realize that it's not that big of a deal. For me, when I posted my first video, I just decided that this is going to be the most awkward video that I'm going to post, and everything else from there on is just, you know, upwards and going to get better, and I hope that that's been the case. But yeah, it's like the first video, you need to get over a lot of fears, and the fears aren't necessarily rational, or they might even contradict each other. Like you might be scared that no one's gonna watch you, that no one's gonna care that you're making these videos, but you also might be afraid of people finding your videos and actually watching them, and you might be scared of both of those things at the same time, and you just need to get over yourself. To be fair, the reality is in the beginning it's very unlikely that a ton of people will see your videos. I was lucky enough to have somewhat of an Instagram audience when I started. I probably had like 45,000 followers on Instagram, and so that meant that at least I had a little bit of traffic that would convert because people were curious as to what I was talking about on YouTube. Generally, not that many people will see your first videos. If you eventually decide that this is not for you, you don't want to do this anymore, you can literally just take down a YouTube channel. It's not that big of a deal, and once you get over the first video, it's a lot easier. Lesson number 6, I'd say, is that not everyone's going to like you, and that's kind of the point. I think there are a lot of people that might think that like you're going to get a lot of hate comments. To be fair, I feel like a lot of people that just don't like your videos are not gonna be very vocal about it, they just won't watch. And that's kind of the whole point, is you're trying to find the people that really relate to you, not please everybody, because that's impossible. The more you kind of stand out to the people that you want to actually have watch your videos and have that conversation with, the better. And so if someone doesn't like you can't really do anything about it. You can't really do that much about it in real life either, so it's just on a bigger scale, I guess. To be fair, I haven't had a lot of hate comments or any sort of mad criticism against me so far, which I've very much appreciated, but at the same time, people disagree with me. Some people voice it in my comments, and that's okay. Like, we don't have to be of the same opinion about everything. Like, that's totally cool. Just don't be a douche in the comments. That's all I ask for. Being mean is not okay. People will also make assumptions about you that aren't necessarily correct, and you also can't really change that. Like, it is what it is. You're not sharing all of yourself online or all of your life, and so people might get the wrong impression and they may voice assumptions that aren't true. But you also kind of need to just live with the knowledge that you don't know your audience personally and they don't personally know you, even though we have all of these parasocial relationships online where it's easier for a viewer to feel like they're closer to you than they actually are. But yeah, it's been interesting to hear a few assumptions here and there about myself, and I'm like, I don't know if that's true, but it's very interesting to hear kind of what kind of an image you're giving out online. Lesson number 7, I believe, is that you need to balance out the content that you make for, I guess, growth and your audience purely, because a lot of the times, well, not a lot of the times, but sometimes that's not necessarily the content that you're most passionate about, but it might be the content that is most helpful to your audience. And if you want to grow, sometimes it makes more sense to make more of it. But at the same time, I think there's a balance that you need to strike with also creating content that is kind of for yourself, sort of the content that you're most passionate about, even though you might not get as many, views or whatever for it, because like that's the whole point, is that you like what you're doing, that you're passionate about what you're doing here. It's not that you don't like making the videos that might get really popular. I love talking about data and teaching people about data, but a lot of the times the videos that are the most informative, something like the SQL and Python video that at this point is definitely my most viewed video, just took forever to make because there's so much editing involved. It's not the videos that I'm most passionate about just because of like the aspects of making that video, like detailed editing, that aren't necessarily my biggest strengths. But at the same time, I know that those kinds of videos are the most helpful for my audience and what I want to provide. So yeah, you need to strike some kind of balance there in order to stay motivated. Last but not least, I want to talk about the fact that being in this for the money is probably not the right way to go, just because it takes a very long time to get monetized, especially on YouTube. Sure enough, you can start making a little bit of money out of other streams of income that you can have, like affiliates, but most of the first year that I was on YouTube, I was not monetized. I think it took me from April last year until I want to say January to get 1,000 subscribers, which is a requirement. And so our 4,000 hours, not minutes, hours of watch time. And I think that took me until around March or early April. And then I was monetized around the end of April, I think. So a full year to actually be able to turn on ads. And even like these days, YouTube will just put on ads on some of the videos that you might make just because they want to. And so they can monetize your videos even if you can. So I would say being in it for the money is not really the right way to go, because it just takes a long time and you're not gonna stay motivated if that's your primary motivator. I can say that between April and now, so end of June, I've probably made 500 euros off of ads, and I just happen to have like a pretty good RPM, so revenue per 1,000 views. So it's not really like a life-changing amount of money. I'd say if you want to start a YouTube channel, don't do it for the money because it's going to take a while. That was kind of what I wanted to talk about on the lessons from YouTube side of things, but I do want to address the fact that I have rebranded this channel, and the reason for that isn't my looming 27th birthday in about a month, but it's actually just the fact that when I started my Instagram account, Young Female in Tech, 2 years ago, so I've been on YouTube for a year, but I've had my Instagram account for 2, I didn't really think anyone would be interested. I now have almost 10,000 followers on Instagram, and I didn't really assume that I would be creating content long term, and that kind of changed when I realized that people are actually interested, and I've now done it for a while and I really like doing this. And then I realized, like, okay, I don't want to corner myself into that sort of, I guess the younger word is more like a connotation of someone like really early on in their career, and I don't want to corner myself into that just because I'm not always going to be in that position. Right now I've already worked full-time for over 5 years and I'm not in like entry-level jobs anymore, so it just made sense for me to change the branding of the channel and all my socials. So you can find me with Tech with Sofia everywhere now, including my Twitter, which used to be Young Female Tech just because I couldn't fit the in, and now I have a short enough brand that also fits into my Twitter nickname. The brainstorming around this whole brand name change obviously was a very complex process that totally wasn't me watching YouTube videos and all of a sudden thinking, Tech with Sofia, that sounds great. Is the .com available? Yes. Is the Instagram handle available? Yes. Is the YouTube handle available? Oh, yes. So should I change it? Should I change it? I should change it. And then I changed it. That was the process. Clearly a branding and marketing mastermind over here, but that's essentially the reason that I did. Just wanted to have the brand be, or name be, something that I would see myself with for a good while into the future. So that is kind of all I wanted to talk about today. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. I know that there are about like 80 to 90% of everybody who watches me is not subscribed to the channel. Why not? Click the button. Join the nerd fam. This is not my usual content. I usually talk about data, project management, and working in tech. And if you'd like to see more of that kind of content, I mean, all the more reasons to, and yeah, without being more of a cheesy mess, I will see you in my next video. Cheers.